Hey, this is Mr. Turk. Somebody was curious about using Piconion, which I've never heard of or used before, but I figured, why not? Piconion does not require a login, so for school districts that do not have very open student protection policies, I know a lot of school districts are preventing, during this distance learning time, students from using any site that requires a login that their personal IT admin cannot manage. So Piconion doesn't require a login of any kind. There's no actual compromise of student privacy. So it seems pretty okay. We're going to just click Start Now. And it looks like it gives you several options. You can open files from a Google Drive. You can just create a blank one, or you can just open from your local disk. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to click Start on that, and I'm just going to open this photo here. So again, I know how to use Photoshop. So again, most of these tools look very familiar. They are basically one-for-one copies of Photoshop. The toolbar works very similar to Photoshop. You just click to switch to that tool, click and hold to open a tool group. And then when you click on the tool, the control bar at the top changes, and looks like the options are pretty straightforward if you understand how to use Photoshop. If you don't understand Photoshop, because this tool set is so limited, I would recommend you do some research on Photoshop and maybe learn it if you're not familiar with it, or follow some channel that walks you through the basics of Photoshop, the basic tools. Each of these tools, if you're not sure what they're called, will tell you what they are called if you hover your mouse over them. So the brush tool here, right? If you're not sure how it's used, pretty straightforward, right? Click and drag to paint pixels. Your brush settings are up here. Again, if you don't know this, just researching how to use the brush tool in Photoshop will tell you that you can adjust the size of your brush in the control panel. It'll look entirely different than this, but at least here I can click and play around with things, and voila, I've got it figured out pretty much. That being said, certain tools may not make sense. Like, why do you need selections, or what does a rectangular marquee tool do? Again, I suggest you research how to use this in Photoshop. The rectangular marquee tool is just for making selections. So like if I wanted to remove, say, for instance, this plastic cone here, I would probably take a chunk of the sidewalk and copy and paste it and put it on top of that section there. I have no idea, since I've never used Piconion before, if the exact same shortcuts or processes will happen as they do in Photoshop. But again, it doesn't matter. I'm just playing around. I'm just figuring it out. So I'm just going to make kind of a selection here. And usually what you can do when you make a selection is you can copy and paste. So let's see if those are there. Yep. They're in the edit menu. So copy, edit, paste. And it looks like the shortcuts are there as well. So I still have a selection. I don't know where to deselect something, but it looks like it's in the edit menu here, and it's the exact same shortcut as Photoshop. So again, if I had researched how to use the rectangular marquee tool, I would have known, oh, you click and drag to make selections. It makes rectangle shaped selections. You can copy and paste pixels or only edit pixels within selections. Again, if you learn how to use Photoshop, you basically know how to use Piconion. So I'm going to hit deselect here, and now I have this layer 2. And I know the move tool in Photoshop moves layers and items. So I'm going to switch my move tool. I know that I need to basically be on layer 2, and it looks like there's some kind of bounding box here. So that means I can sort of see that that's the thing I should be editing. And then from here, obviously, I could play around with the other tools, right? Like, I don't know what the eraser tool does or where it is, but Maybe it's in here. Who knows? Confirm action. Oh, well, yes. Let's confirm my action. Again, looking around here for the eraser tool. I have no idea if they actually have it. And I'm not seeing it, which is okay. Honestly, you know, I could just take my rectangular marquee tool here and I could delete parts of this that don't seem to line up. Right? Like we got a hard edge here and a hard edge here. If I make a selection and hit backspace, typically that gets rid of the pixels that are on that layer. It's not doing that. So that tells me it might be buried in one of these menus. Might be, there it is. Delete key, not backspace. So I'm going to hit delete in the menu here. Oh, it deleted those pixels. We still see some of the shadow. So let's hit Control Z and see if that undoes. Okay, so again, more and more of my skills from Photoshop are transferring here. All pretty straightforward stuff, right? We're not going to fret too much about figuring out where eraser is. We're just going to keep playing with it if we want to find that out. Looks like Piconion is pretty good. Again, if you really want to know how to use a piece of software, go to the source, go to the software it's based off of. This is based off of Photoshop, so go to Photoshop. And once you learn the basics of Photoshop, basically any imitator of it will probably have pretty similar tools. And the more popular it is, the more videos you'll see. Right now, Piconion, not very popular. Not a whole lot of videos. In fact, there's only 3. They're all by one guy. I'm going to add to that by being the 4th video about Piconion. But if you knew how to use Photoshop, then you probably know how to use Piconion.